We are in Tokyo, Japan, Akihabara for another round of In the Hunt, and as you can see, the weather is great. We're going to be taking a look at the Surugaya not too far from the station. So let's go ahead and go in and check out all the new stuff, some of the retro stuff, and everything in between. With that said, welcome to another episode of Retro Rewire. My name is JJ, and we're going to start here and take a brief look at some of the new stuff that's on the ground floor. We have the retro stuff down below, but as you can see, the PlayStation 5 slowly filling up the shelves here at the Surugaya in Akihabara. Definitely nice to see, especially after 2 years. And then they had this hitbox. Look at the amazing work on that piece of hardware, coming in at 36,000 yen. Next to that, we have a couple of limited editions, and then the Nintendo Switch. I almost said PlayStation there. That's on the mind. But let's take a look at the Love Max edition of Death Smiles 1 and 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this one, I did a brief unboxing of just the standard release, and it does have full English language, coming in at 6,600 yen. But retro gaming is the bread and butter of this channel, so we're going to start here with the showcase down below, down the stairs. And a lot of great stuff in here. I gotta admit, some of the stuff was very tempting. And we have here some Super Famicom titles. And next to that, we have Batsugan for 25,000 yen for the Sega Saturn. Now, this is gonna be getting a release on the Nintendo Switch. In fact, I have it on pre-order, and that's gonna be coming in at about 3,600 yen. We have Ninja Gaiden 3 for the Super Famicom. For the regular Famicom at 15,800 yen, and then we have Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance for 16,600 yen. Behind that, we have Border Down for the Sega Dreamcast for 33,000. Next to that, we have Chrono Trigger, and next to that, we have Sin and Punishment for 5,300 yen. And nestled in between all this retro wonders, we have Steel Empire for the Game Boy Advance, coming in at 21,000 yen. This is a great game, especially on the 3DS and the Sega Genesis. Actually, I haven't even played the Game Boy Advance version, but I imagine it's just as good. But here we have PlayStation Vita titles. We have Splatterhouse Chibi there for 11,300 yen. And then we have some more retro gaming goodness here. And I like this Final Fantasy. Look at the cover art on this. That's probably going to be one of the greatest cover arts of all time. Great color, great penmanship, or ink, or what do you say, illustrations by Amano. We have Thunder Force Gold Pack 2 for 11,000 yen, and then we have Dai Makaimura for 17,000 for the super graphics. And then here we have Dracula X for the PC Engine, 22,000 yen, not too bad of a price there. And then we have Cannon Spike we have 2 copies of Cannon Spikes, and I haven't played this game. I've seen plenty of videos on it, and it's one that I would like to try. It hasn't fully convinced me yet, but it could be a good one. And then we have Linda there for the Sega Saturn. That's also available for the PlayStation. And then we have Kiki Kai Kai for the PC Engine for 17,000 yen. We have Winds of Thunder for 12,000. We got Cross Swords Elevator Action for 28,000 yen. Next to that, another copy of Kiki Kai Kai. And in the middle of all that, we have some interesting titles. But here we have Street Fighter 03 Alpha 3 for 31,000 yen. Above that, we have Metal Black. And next to that, we have KO the Flying Squadron for 25,000 yen for the Sega Saturn. And Spriggan, Top Hunter. And what is that? A Popful Mail or something? But 19,000 for Dracula X for the Sega Saturn. The Legend of Hero Tonma for 15,500 yen. A lot of heavy hitters in here. But this one I have not heard of for the Sega Saturn, coming in at 9,900 yen. We got some Wizardry action. Those games seem to be quite popular. And this could be like an adult fighter, maybe like Strip Fighter 2 or something like that. But then we have Techromancer for the Sega Dreamcast, coming in at 12,000 yen. And look at this, Donkey Kong Jr., 18,000 yen, Game & Watch. Absolutely love the retro oozing out of that packaging. Not sure what this Game Boy Advance title is, but 9,800 yen. And then we have another GBA title, Kiki Kai Kai with Becky, I believe is the equivalent in the North America, but 65,000 yen. And then we have a shooter here for the Wii. Now this is Snow Girl something, coming in at 15,000 yen. Above that, they have the PlayStation 2 version. The difference is going to be 133,000 yen. Definitely expensive, but I gotta admit, I do like seeing these expensive titles. I'm not really gonna buy them, but it's always nice to see that kind of higher end stuff. And then here, just an assortment of Xbox titles and the PS2 Neo Geo collection coming in at 29,800 yen. Here we have the next showcase, and once again, a lot of great stuff in here. But the one thing that you want to be weary of is this. This is going to be a really tight space. This is about 1.5 feet, maybe a little less. So just be mindful of that. But we have Neo Geo games. We got Pico Pico for the Famicom coming in at 3,600 yen. And I think that's like a newer release, but we have a couple of memory cards for the Neo Geo coming in at 3,000. And then behind that, we have some Super Famicom titles and probably some heavy hitters like Prince of Persia there. And then we got the Mega Drive goodness. Now, I've been going Mega Drive crazy with the hardware, especially, you know, Model 1, Model 2, Mega CD, all that great stuff, and I'm absolutely loving it. But we have Glay Lancer for 52,400 yen, and then a GameCube component cable at 12,800 yen. Definitely nice to see that component cable, as it's been a while since I've seen one. But we got a Wonder Swan Color next to a Super Game Boy for 4,500 yen. And then we have an assortment of Mega Drive and Nintendo stuff, with Sin and Punishment for the N64 coming in at 18,000 yen. That one is definitely a title that has been on my mind, as I do love the run and gun shooter, and that one is just up my alley. But for the Game Boy Advance, we have F-Zero Climax for 15,800. Now, the vanilla release of F-Zero for the GBA is far, far less expensive, so I wonder what the differences between those two are. But we have the color screen for the Game & Watch. This is a newer release. And then we got a newer Famicom title here for 4,800 yen. I've seen that one before in the Kyoto Super Potato. And then we have just an assortment of stuff here. Now, the thing that really calls out to my attention is going to be this Game Boy Advance SP for 23,000 yen. But it does have some stickers there. I think it's missing the AC adapter next to some Final Fantasy, 11,000 yen. But I don't know what that platform is for, or what game. You know what I'm trying to say. But Super Castlevania 4 there. Unfortunately, we can't see the price. But I'm guessing it's over 10,000 yen. As that one has been slowly creeping up in price. But we have the Game Gear Micro coming in at 11,500 yen next to a couple of Sega My cards. Now, they had these kind of spread out throughout the display case, as well as these handheld titles, just an assortment of titles here. But let's go ahead and take a look down below. We got some more Sega My cards just kind of hanging out, and then we have a top loader there for 9,500 yen, and it looks to be in pretty good shape, gotta admit that. And then not really sure what these little things are. It looks like they're batteries, PSP battery and 3DS batteries. But we got a PSP Go for 21,000 yen, complete in the box. That thing looks pretty mean, and that system's also been on my mind, but I'm not gonna get one. We got a 2DS XL here, a new 2DS XL, and then look at this controller for the GameCube, 17,000 yen, and it looks like it's going to be a Wavebird. Definitely pricey for the Wavebird. My goodness, I used to have one of those back in the day. And then just an assortment of limited edition releases there for Nintendo handhelds, with the 2DS Red Edition coming in at 12,500 yen. Next to that, we have 27,000 for the Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII PSP Edition. But it looks like it's going to be missing some stuff there. And then more handheld goodness. Look at that, 6,000 for a PlayStation Vita. That looks like it's a 2000 series. And then we got a 3DS XL for 15,000 yen. That's a pretty cool cover, I have to admit. What is that, Smash Bros? Pretty cool. And some more Vitas, both in the box and in the loose. And then we got another GameCube controller coming in at 15,800 yen. What's the deal there? But as you can see, the gentleman there, that gives you an idea of how tight it is. But forget about that. Let's look at some PlayStation 1 titles. Quite a bit of stuff here, like this Tomb Raider 3 at 700 yen. You know, I haven't played this one, nor have I played part 2, but I absolutely love the first one. And then we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for 2,000 yen. Now, the interesting thing here is that in Japan, you can see Activision, but it was actually published and distributed in Japan by Success. Now, those guys are behind the Cotton releases along with Sega, so interesting to see that. And just a whole bunch of titles. And now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna pull this out. We got one for the published by Capcom. This had a different publisher in North America, but this is a great run and gun shooter, and one that has one that I want to re-add to my collection, to be honest. But we're going to take a look at some PlayStation 1 titles, and we're going to do a little bit of a blitz. Before that, we have a PlayStation 1 for 2,500 yen. Now, it's non-working, but probably can easily be fixed. So let's start the blitz here, and we have some Power Rangers-like game. Looks like it's a beat-em-up. And then we have Pitfall 3D coming in at 3,300 yen. I had no idea that that existed. We got Cubitus. I believe this is also on the Sega Saturn. We got the Street Fighter Collection at 1,800 yen. That's not too bad of a price. We got Raiden DX coming in at 5,000 yen. Originally 1,500 yen. What a difference. Then we got the Raiden Project, which includes Part 1 and Part 2. We got a first-person shooter here, Hybrid Something, for 2,300 yen. Now this one looks interesting. As does this, Lone Soldier. Look at that. Looks like The Weeknd there on the cover. But I am interested in playing this one. I believe it was also released in North America. We have Disruptor here. This is another title that I haven't heard of, but it looks like it's an FPS. And then we have Forsaken by Acclaim. Have no idea what this is about. And then we have the Toa Plan Shooting Battle Collection with Tiger Heli, Twin Cobra. A lot of great games there. We have Gekio the Sun King. This was also released in North America, I believe late in the PlayStation 1's life cycle. We have Gradius Gaiden, 3,200 yen. I recently picked this one up, and definitely awesome music on that one. We have Omega Boost, showing off the power of the PlayStation 1. Great title there. And then we have R-Type Delta coming in at 7,700 yen. This one is slowly creeping up in price. We got One Piece Carnival. I believe this is like a mini type of game, mini games. But we have Test Drive 2 Off-Road and Dark Hunter. Have no idea what this is about, but kind of an interesting cover, and it looks like it's a first-person something. But anyhow, let's go ahead and make our way into the Xbox titles. A lot of great shooters here, a lot of great racing games. Let's take a look. And we're going to start with Sega Rally Revo. This is a great game that does support 4x3 televisions. I often play it on my CRT, and it looks amazing. I have it on the PS3. Unfortunately, the Japanese edition does not include English language options, but we have Ridge Racer 6, 1,700 yen. The last time I saw this, it was at half the price almost, at about 900 yen. So I should have picked it up when I originally saw it, but one day that will be mine. And then we have Dirt 3 coming in at 2,400 yen, another great rally game. There's a lot of great rally games for the 7th generation. A lot of great stuff. And let's keep making our way here. We have Vampire Resurrection for 2,900 yen. Now I have this for the PlayStation. I bought it off of PSN. And this game is a little bit of a miss because of the blurring filter. It just looks really bad. But the gameplay is intact, and that's what's most important. And what else do we have here? Next to that, we have Gold Something. And then we have Super Street Fighter 4, I almost said 2, for 900 yen. And I believe it is missing one of the CDs. I don't know if it's the soundtrack or like the bonus feature disc. But not too bad of a price there, 900 yen. And then let's pull out Soul Calibur 4 here. We got Yoda on the cover. The PlayStation 3 got Darth Vader. 600 yen, that's not too bad of a price. Now this one does support full English language options, as does the PS3 version. And then we have KOF 13. Now this is another game, full English language options. This is a great fighter, 2,400 yen. And the same is it's gonna be the same case with the PlayStation 3, full English language options. But we have Raiden 4, 3,700 yen. Now this one recently got re-released on the Switch. It's also available on the PS3. I bought it off of PSN. A great shooter. Quite a great, in fact, the 360 is loaded with a number of shooters, especially those by Cave. We have Mushihime-sama version 1.5. This is also available on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is a great shooting game. I have the vanilla release on the PlayStation 2, and I gotta say, the music is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love it. We got another Cave shooter here. We have Dodonpachi Daiojo. This is gonna be the black label, 7,600 yen. Haven't actually played this one, but I have listened to a few of the tunes, and they're really awesome. A lot of great shooters there on the 360. And as you can see, they had quite a bit. Now, I always like to browse this section because every now and then they mix the North American releases with the Japanese ones, and sometimes you can get some pretty good stuff. Like Splatterhouse, I've often seen that one here. But what do we have? We got some Mass Effect 3 there. I believe that got a remaster, but we have Tenchu by From Software for 1,500 yen. Now, I had no idea that this got a 360 release. I always thought this the last entry was on the PlayStation 2, but nope, definitely on the 360 there. Just an assortment of titles here. We got Dead Space 3. That looks like it's the PAL version. What else do we have here? We got some Armored Core 4. Next to that, we have Asura's Wrath. Now, this one, as well as the PlayStation 3 version, are fully in English. And then we have Stranglehold for 500 yen. Now, the North American limited edition includes the movie Hard Boiled, and that movie is really great, especially if you like those types of flicks. But we have Ninja Gaiden for 600 yen, the vanilla release. Now, that's poster quality stuff there. And then we have Silent Hill 2, another great cover here, 2,800 yen. I have the North American release, and I haven't actually tested out the Japanese version, but I'm fairly certain that it will have full English language options. And then we have Capcom vs. SNK 2 EO, as the EO-ism, which kind of makes things a little bit easier, more accessible for beginners. And this is also available for the GameCube, but we have Otogi for 3,900 yen. Now, I purchased part 1 and part 2 many years ago at a Goodwill, but I never really gave them their due. But definitely like the lore and artwork behind them. But we have Panzer Dragoon Orta, definitely worth playing on the 1X and the Series X full 4K. And Gun Valkyrie, 1,500 yen. I remember having this game, but one thing about it was the control. I wasn't really digging the control, but it could be a great game. And here we'll take a brief look at the PlayStation 3 titles. There's a number of games, and a few of the ones that I want to show off is some Capcom stuff. We have Strider here for 6,100 yen. Now, this one unfortunately runs at half the frame rate of the PlayStation 4 version, but we have Vampire Resurrection as well. And then here along the stairs, we got some games just kind of hanging around. Now, the whole stair area was full of games, but now it's a little bit dwindled. But as you can see, there is a few heavy hitters in here, so definitely worth browsing. We got Final Fight Guy there for 3,100 yen, Wrecking Crew in the back. We got Enix's Terranigma, and then we got Turtles in Time for 3,800 yen. I recently scored a good deal on that game for 2,000. But of course, I had to travel out to the country to get it. Countryside, we got 2,500 yen for Contra 3. And then we have Goemon 2 for 2,100. Now let's take a look at a little bit of hardware. Not a lot of stuff here, but what they had was, I guess, was pretty interesting. Like this Duo R for 31,000 yen. And it looks like the plastic is a little bit stained, but the system itself was pretty clean. And then an assortment of Wii's and Wii U's and a PS3. Now this is there's something going on here because the price is coming in at 3,300 yen. So that's a little bit low. So who knows what's the deal there. We got a couple of Sega Saturns. Above that, we got a limited edition PS2, the broadband pack for 23,500 yen. And then we have the Final Fantasy 13 edition PS3 for 16,500 yen. I remember when these things were 6,000 yen, and I definitely should have picked one up back then. But perhaps one day I will have my chance and score a pretty good deal on it. Sega Saturn, let's go ahead and do a blitz. We got Virtua Fighter Kids for 500 yen. We got Princess Crown, 8,300 yen. A lot of great games, and I hope that gets a remaster or a port. We got Guardian Heroes for 6,200 yen. Dynamite Deca for 6,700 yen. Now this game is so tough. We got Dungeons & Dragons Collection for 17,700 yen. Now this one is slowly creeping up in price. We got Burning Rangers for 5,600 yen. I used to want this game, but not so much anymore. Not for any particular reason, but we got Marvel Superheroes for 6,300 yen. This is a great fighter. And then we have Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter for 7,700 yen. Another great fighter. And Rockman X3 for 4,900 yen. Although I believe that one's kind of screwy with the aspect ratio. But we have Lupin by Asmic Ace. Now that publisher had interesting titles back then. But we have The Game Paradise by Jellico, a limited edition. Pretty cool to see this on Sega Saturn. We got Salamander Deluxe for 7,000 yen, with part 2 being the standout title. We got Darius Gaiden for 3,500 yen, another great shooter. And then Sega Rally Championship Plus. What else do we have here? Some more titles. We're just going to slowly pan across here. definitely feel free to pause. A lot of great stuff in here. And you know, the Sega Saturn section was definitely far smaller than the PlayStation 1, but there's a lot of great titles like that Need for Speed, or Overdrive as it's known here in Japan. But it's a little bit dwindling. As you can see here, there's a couple of patches in between all of this, but nonetheless, as you saw in that little blitz there, a lot of great quality titles. So definitely still worth coming here to check out their Sega Saturn selection. And they even have X-Men vs. Street Fighter there with the 4MB RAM cart down below. And then we have this by Aiding, published by Electronic Arts for 7,300 yen. This is a shooter. I believe this is also available on the PlayStation 1. And then we have Outrigger for the Sega Dreamcast. Now this is an arena fighter, kind of like Unreal and the Spawn game on the Sega Dreamcast. And then down below, we have the Virtua Stick and the Sega Dreamcast stick. Now, I recently sold both of those sticks to kind of make room for more stuff, I guess. And I went with the Brook adapter, but here we have the Sega Dreamcast stuff, and above that, the PC Engine stuff. And that's pretty much going to bring us to the end of the video. I definitely recommend coming here and take your time, as it is a tough spot to kind of traverse, but you just never know what you will find, as there's still a few good deals to be had. We'll see you soon. Ciao.